church gossip. I don't think she's here today, so no worries. So Mildred, the church gossip and self-appointed arbiter of the church's morals, kept sticking her nose into other people's business. Now, nobody really liked that she did that. They all were just a little bit afraid of her, so they just kind of let her be. But one day she made a mistake, which is that she accused George, a new member of the church, of being an alcoholic. So she saw his pickup truck parked in front of the town's only bar, and she told him, and everyone else, we know what he's doing in there. Well, George did not fight, he didn't object, he didn't defend himself, he just kept quiet and left the church that day. And later, he drove his pickup truck over to Mildred's house, parked it in front, and left it there all night. All right. So, I came back. My second official week. You came back. Woo! So today we're talking about something so vitally important, so eminently practical, so key to your happy, fulfilled, expansive, possible life, which is developing the capacity to listen to that still small voice within. Now, this still small voice within is called intuition. We call it intuition. Ernest Holmes called it the presence of God, or the voice of God within you. It's interesting because it is the ability to discern something without connecting the dots, without adding it up, without deducing based on your experience. It's like this natural inner knowing that just happens, and we all have it. We all have it. I'm sure you've all experienced it. Our minds always think. We have thinking minds, and you cannot not think. You cannot stop your mind from thinking. You cannot even really control too much what you're thinking. You can't. The longer you stay in spiritual practice, the easier it will be to quiet your mind. But if you've ever tried to do it, especially new to these teachings, it's almost impossible, right? And it's always not necessarily very nice or pleasant or accepting. So keep in mind, I want to put a little frame around the brain for just a second. So I say you are an ethereal being. You're a birthless, deathless expression of spirit that has chosen for your own purposes to incarnate in the body. Now, that may be easy to accept. It may not be easy to accept. So in that idea, there is no real birth and death of you with a capital Y. There's just this experience we have in the body. And in the body, there are organs. There's a heart, there's liver, there's kidneys, there's blood, there's veins and arteries. And all of those organs are to help us navigate and live and experience this dimension. So it is with your brain. The brain is an organ like the heart or the lungs. It needs to be there. It serves a purpose. It's because of your brain you can walk, you can think, you can remember, it has a purpose. Its purpose is not to tell you how to live life, because it doesn't know how to live life. Only the Spirit knows how you are to live your life. So intuition is actually it's not of the brain. It's another faculty which we're trying and wanting to cultivate. Yes? All right. So here's our affirmation we're going to start with today. It's my inner voice is my most trusted advisor. Now you. My inner voice is... Yes. So So Einstein said, "Ooh, I like having this. I feel powerful." Boom, boom. So Einstein said, "I want to know God's thoughts. The rest are details." That's so funny that you chuckled. I'm not sure why. So if you accept, well, let's take it macrocosm. So we do want to know God's thoughts. Well, I would love to know God's thoughts right now. I would love to know big picture thoughts, wouldn't you? I would love to know how all of what's going on in the world is connecting the dots to glory, because I believe it is. We just can't see that it is. We don't know that it is, right? So we're over here trying to. I mean, we know God's thoughts if you look at elephants and giraffes and sunsets and babies and flowers. But this is an important quote for us today because I say, God's in you. You and God are one. Not over there, right here. So wouldn't it be great to know those details? What are God's thoughts in relationship to you? That's the most important thing to know, because the details come naturally. The details flow. The details of your life simply flow. There is really, I always say, our job in the manifestation process, the creative process, is the what, not the how. The how is already, a synchronistic occurrence that occurs independent of you. You cannot make circumstances happen. Well, you could try. You can try, right? You can try. But we don't don't try, right? So I want to tell you, I don't actually tell very many stories about myself, but I want to tell you a little bit of summary of my last 4 years, because I am even in awe. I'm in awe. I'm like blown away by how God works for me. So I'm going to tell you. I'm going to start with this quote, though. "At times you must leave the city of your comfort and go into the wilderness of your intuition. What you'll discover will be wonderful. What you'll discover is yourself." So in 2021, I had my left hip replaced. It's a very good hip. Somebody used to have to come help me. 2 days after my hip was replaced, I had a stroke. I know, that's what I said. It's like, and it was a very scary, terrible time. It was a dark time. It was a faithless time. It took me a minute, right? Because I was scared. And that was in November. That was on November 2nd. My sisters were with me, helping me, which was really, really horrible. I don't know what made me think they'd be good at that. And never again, by the way. Anyway, they went, and I'm just praying they're not watching this or never will watch this. They went home on December 1st, and I was there on my walker. The stroke affected my vision only, so I couldn't drive, and I really didn't know what to do. So at some moment, I did what I tell you to do: just be still, accept the reality. We don't fight against reality too much. But I remember asking myself during the month of December, what do you want to do? If this is it, if you're not going to live, and by the way, I had a little fear of another stroke, because I didn't think one could happen. It's like, really? How can that happen? The answer to myself in what do I want to do was I wanted to move to Africa. That's what I wanted to do. If I was going to die, I wanted to move to, I didn't want to sit in my house languishing, waiting to die, right? Or whatever that was going on for me. So here's what I did. I sold everything. I sold my house. I sold my car. Oh, and I sold my house turnkey, so everything in my house. And I sold my car. So I sold my house to a couple, and I sold my car to Dave and Sue. That's important. And Dave and Sue were snowbirds who were coming down for the first time, and I had put it on Facebook, my car. So I, at 70 years old, made myself homeless. Are you with me? I had 6 suitcases, which I took to Africa. And I had a friend who came with me because I was on a cane by then, but there's no way I can move 6 suitcases around an airport. So a friend deposited me in Africa, and I spent 6 months in Africa healing. And I did. I walked, and part of me, I went there, I don't know why I went there. I went there because there was a still small voice in me that said, this is what you're going to do, go. That's not the best part of the story. I come back 1 week before Ian. And by the way, Dave and Sue were snowbirds. So I called Dave and I said, Dave, I'm coming back from Africa. Is your house empty or occupied? And he says, oh, it's empty. I said, can I move into your house for whatever, for a month or two while I figure out what I'm going to do now that I didn't die? Right? So I come back. I come back a week before Ian. I'm not going to go into the Ian story, but I survived Ian, obviously, in Dave and Sue's house. By the way, I had been cleared to drive. In the meantime, I went to a doctor in South Africa and tested my eyes. And I said, can I drive? And he said, yes. So I said, praise God, thank you. So they bought my car. So I get into my car and my phone is still synced with the car. Are you getting the miracles here? So I call Dave and I say, Dave, can I buy my car back from you? And he said, sure. For the same amount I paid him, that's all he charged me. So I bought my car back. That's not the end of the story either. So I'm living in this house, and the people across the street want to go on a 3-week cruise. So they asked me if I can watch their dog, Mr. Puff. So I moved out of Dave's house and moved into Mark's and Tara's house to watch their dog for 3 weeks. And then I moved to Naples to work at the Unity Church in Naples for a while. But here's the real miracle. Guess whose house I bought? So when I left Unity Naples, I went over to a neighbor's house, and Mark and Tara there, and I said, now I need to find a place to live. And they said, well, we're selling our house. Do you want to buy it? And I said, well, there's no way I can afford that house. And they said, well, how much can you afford? And I told them, and they sold it to me. So I now live in their house. So I tell you this story because it reminds me of I heard a lecture by Steve Jobs, who was doing an address to a university, and he was talking about how you can't connect the dots until after, you can't predict it. So I think what's important here is that if you listen to your intuition, if you listen and you just do it. I mean, do you think, what do you think my family said to me when I told them I was selling my house, my car, and moving to Africa? What do you think everyone said to me? Like, are you out of your mind? Right? You're old, you can't see, you can't walk. Going to Africa sounds like a really great thing for you to do. But it continues to be magical. It just continues. Even my being here is a little magical because I was supposed to stay in Africa till April. So I just came back from being there for 3 months. And I was supposed to go back, and I changed my mind. And it's not pleasant because I have renters in my house. So I'm renting someplace else while renters are in my house. But I was home to get the email from CSL Cape Coral that said, "Are you interested in coming to be our bridge minister?" And I don't know that I would have entertained it had I still been there. So life continues to be this unfoldment, this flow coming out of a willingness to just listen. Like what? And I don't think it's hard. It's like, what do you want? That's the question. What do you want? What do you? Wayne Dyer would have said, what do you really, 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 really want? So that you can get beyond the I want a new car, beyond I want a new red car, beyond I want a new red Mercedes, to I want the perfect transportation for me, right? To what does your soul want? Because Africa wasn't about Africa. Africa represented something that had to do with my healing, right? That it offered me something that probably nothing here could have. So sometimes listening to your intuition takes 20 seconds of insane courage. When you ask yourself, what do I really want? It may take some courage to actually say yes. I invite you really to practice, even if you don't take the actions right away, to at least say yes for your soul. To give yourself permission to want what you want. And, it could be a new job, it could be travel, it could be to get married, it could be to get divorced. So why don't we? Why don't we say yes? All kinds of reasons. You know what they are. We're comfortable. We're afraid. We're afraid of what people might think, what they might say. We're kind of, our brains are kind of hardwired, and we're kind of hardwired to seek approval, to have people think we're smart and funny and cute and sexy and intelligent. So if what you want doesn't fit into any of that, we might not do it. But you, as an ethereal being, have you have an intention. You have your spirit, your soul, the highest and best part of you did not come here for nothing. You came here for something. And you actually won't really be happy until you fulfill that something in the way that is unique and individualized for you. And it is, you are a unique, individualized spirit of God, face of God. I do this. Not everyone can do this, because it might feel morbid, but I often ask myself, if I only had 1 year left, what would I be doing different than today? Will I be happy? Will I be on my deathbed going, whoa, this has been a wonderful ride. I have been authentic and true to myself. God, I want to break into I did it my way right now. I did it my way. But instead we're going to do it in God's way. Now, I want to share with you, I don't know how much time I have left. I go on and on. I want to share with you a little bit this really unique way of looking at your intuition. How many of you are familiar with Abraham Hicks? Yeah. So their work is amazing. I love they teach a theology of joy, which who doesn't love that? But they have this very unique perception about your higher self, or about this inner voice, this intuition, which is very accessible. It makes God accessible to people for whom it might not otherwise be, because I know you don't know this, but a lot of us have baggage with God. Nobody here. Like the word itself, like what does that mean? And it conjures up this old idea or this old theology that isn't necessarily loving and compassionate and kind. So in some ways I would love to preach and teach without using the word, find another word that is more accessible. And this teaching is accessible because essentially they say, the teaching is that here's your human self, and you have a higher self which is you on the non-physical side, which knows you completely, every little thing about you, and adores you unconditionally. Like it's, and that there's a golden thread attaching you to your higher self. Are you with me so far? And that how your higher self communicates with you is through your emotions. So when you are aligned with spirit, when you are connected, when you are not in worry, doubt, and fear, worry, doubt, and fear, when you are not unforgiving, angry or resentful or scared out of your mind, when you are grounded, peaceful, connected, that is your higher power's indication to you that you are on the right track, that you are moving in the right direction, that you have made the right decision. When you are mired in all that negativity, it is equally your higher power's communication to you that you are not. So when you are upset, to no matter what degree, whether it's a little bit or a big upset, that when you are upset, when you are worried, when you are fretting over the future, when you think the world's coming to an end, that is your indication that you've forgotten momentarily who you are and what you're capable of. And you've forgotten temporarily that the universe is conspiring for your good. You've forgotten that everything's working together for you. And they would say, do whatever you need to do to get out of it. Do whatever you need to do to feel better. And that could be anything. I mean, it could be turn off the news. It could be have a cup of tea. It could be meditate, breathe, call your minister or practitioner for prayer. It could be go to Africa. Do you understand? It's like whatever makes you feel better. So this is a very powerful tool because we're not trained this way. We're trained to think that your emotions, first of all, that what you feel is real, right? That your fear is grounded somehow or warranted somehow, or that your anger is warranted, and that it's also caused by outside influences, so it's not your fault and there's nothing you can do about it. Those thoughts are the thoughts of a victim. I can't be happy because, whatever comes after because. I can't be at peace. I can't have peace in the situation because. Well, let's lose the word because. Lose it. Just don't use it anymore, right? Because whatever follows isn't true. It's a lie. It's a trick. Because we are, as spirits, made in the image and likeness of that which made everything. The creator of the beauty of this earth made you. And that you, our power to the still small voice within us, this intuitive faculty, is a gift which puts us in the flow of life. And when you're in the flow of life, everything is working together for your good. Everything, whether you think so or not. As Steve Jobs said, you can go back and connect the dots. He told a story about how he was from a pretty upper middle class family. They sent him to college. He hated college, hated it. So he dropped out and went to tech school and learned about typesetting and graphic design. And he talks about how, in this address, pretty close to his death, I think, he talked about how it was that course that became the typeset, the prototype for the Macintosh computer. And that without it, he doesn't know how it would have turned out. But that he connected the dots. You can see that this led to this, led to this, led to this, which I just did even with my 6 suitcases, right? That everything keeps leading us to where we're supposed to be. So Ernest Holmes said that there is nothing to be healed, only God to be revealed. Nothing to be healed. Isn't that interesting? Nothing to be healed. There's nothing broken, nothing missing, nothing wrong. And you might say, oh, but you don't know, I haven't had a hip replacement, my hip hurts, right? You may say, whatever, you haven't looked at my checkbook lately, you don't know the status of my relationship, and nothing you convince me will make me see you as small and puny. I will only see the spirit within you, and in God, all things are possible. So now, does that mean that spiritual people don't need hip replacements? No. And it really is part of Vidalia's reading. Does it mean that we don't hit bumps along the road? Of course not. But what it does mean is that the way out of the bump is by revealing the presence of order and harmony and prosperity and health. That we want to reveal the qualities of the Spirit that are already within us, which go beyond us to call. It's actually as if our prayers and our yearnings, our intentions move molecules around. And it's because we're not in our brain. It's because this is the science of mind, philosophy, faith, and way of life. Science of mind. That mind is not your brain. Mind is beyond the brain, and it's shared airspace. So you think into it, I think into it, you think into it, everyone at home thinks into it. And in that thinking, especially when you're thinking through your intuition and the God presence within you, the love within you, whatever you need is reaching the people you need to reach. If you want to publish a book, if you want to write a book, your publisher's already out there, your editor's already out there. What do you have to do? What's your role in connecting those dots? Stillness, meditation, listening to that still small voice within you, following your intuition. 20 seconds of insane courage. So I shared last Wednesday at the Wednesday Spiritual Living Circle, when we kind of prefaced this week's lesson. I talked about one way of knowing what to do when you need to make a decision or follow a path is to listen. So remember, you have your higher power out here, this golden thread, is to feel how it feels in your body. So, whole body yeses are exactly that, right? A whole body yes. I say to you, do you want to go on a cruise next week? And you say, yes, oh my, yes, yes, yes. No, there's no doubt you want to do that. Somebody offers you a job, full body yes. We also have full body no's, do we not? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we say yes when we mean no, don't we? And sometimes we say no when we mean yes. So it's very useful to get in touch with what this feels like, because when you ignore a full body yes or a full body no, it's not good, right? Because that's your guidance system. My teacher, Dr. Beckwith, would say a maybe is also a no. Now, you can play with the maybes yourself, right? And it takes a little bit more finesse to work with a maybe. But yeses and nos are very easy. So and sometimes if it's a yes, let's say you, by the way, it's all very practical. You've been with your job, your employer for 15 years, and you're feeling in a rut, and you're not really satisfied, and they're not really acknowledging you for how wonderful you are, and there's something in you that knows you should leave your job in order to evolve to your next best expression. Do you want to say no to that? You say yes. And remember, you don't have to quit your job, but say yes inside. Let your soul have its way. Say, yes, I deserve a better job. I deserve people who care about me and honor my gifts and talents. I deserve that. I'm open and willing to make the move. You may not have 20 seconds of insane courage. I happen to be a rather radical human being, so I just do it. But you don't have to just do it. If you're a little more reserved, but just say yes inside. Let the yes reverberate so that the molecules can get moved on your behalf. All right, let's say it one more time. That concludes our lesson for today. Oh, thank you. Beautiful. So good. So let's move into a little bit of prayer. Prayer is very interesting because it transcends the mind, transcends the logical mind, the conscious mind, the thinking mind. It actually allows us to move into the subconscious, unconscious, which is really where creation happens. Feeling is when things begin to happen. If you can feel that vacation, the chances of your going on it are way bigger than if you don't feel it, right? So prayer allows us to do that. So take a moment with me and turn within. Close your outer eyes if you're comfortable, and open your inner eyes. The outer is merely a manifestation of consciousness, individual and collective. All of that is created from this inner place, individually and collectively. There is, after all, 8 billion human beings with 8 billion hearts being beaten at the same time, 8 million breaths being taken, that there is something in back of everything that is maintaining and sustaining us, guiding us. I call this power and this presence God or love or the quantum field or universal intelligence. It doesn't matter what you call it. What matters is that you acknowledge it, and that you acknowledge it as your life and the life of everyone you will ever meet. So it is in that I know that we are a connected community, that we're here right now doing the same thing. We're recognizing the divinity in each other, the possibility in each other. And we circle one another and say yes to that possibility for each other. So don't be fooled by naughty behavior. Don't be fooled by a momentary lapse in remembering our love and our compassion and our kindness. We are one. And so it is from that place of community and connection that I speak this word for and about you, every person in this room, every person within the sound of my voice, calling forth, turning up the volume on that still small voice, inviting it to speak, acknowledging that we will listen, that we will allow the deepest desires of our hearts to have a voice, without shame, without blame, without being self-conscious. Our heart and our souls want what they want, and we say yes to that. And so anything that might obstruct or hinder or get in the way of the full expression of the happiness in our lives, the peace of mind in our lives, the calm in our minds, the healing of the body temple in our minds, the fulfillment of our bank accounts in our minds, anything that's blocking the way through doubt or worry or fear, we let it melt like snow on a warm sidewalk. Because it's nothing. It's the truth with a small t, and we want to live the truth with a capital T. And so let Spirit have its way with you. Say yes, yes. And so I release these words. I release them knowing with full conviction, no doubt whatsoever, that I am speaking into a responsive something whose job it is to answer the what with a how. And it can do it for each single person because the Spirit is a multitasker. And so we leave this time expecting and accepting the fulfillment of the word. And we do it with peace and calm. And we just simply walk into our future expecting and accepting nothing but good to happen. And so with this word released, I just invite you to accept all of this for yourself as if you've spoken the words. And we do this here by saying, and so it is. Amen. Amen.